Hello, screenwriters, and welcome to Ask Me Almost Anything. This is the day when I come on live, which I do almost every Monday through Friday, if I can make it, at 3 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. Usually I'm doing the screenwriting step-by-step project where I'm showing you how I write a script, but every once in a while I've got a pile of questions that have come in through email or comments or during chat, and so I just spend an hour answering them. Today, 3 really biggies, so I'm looking forward to getting to those. If you are watching this, as you might be, not live, since most people are not watching this live, you're watching the recording version, you have a question, you can't ask it live, here's what you do. You go to writingforscreens.com and click on that Contact Me button, which you will find all over the darn place. It's on just about every page. And then you can ask me a question. It will send an email to me with the question. I will try and answer right away-ish. And if for some reason you don't like emails or you don't like my website, you can just ask it here in the comments. If you type a comment into this or any of my videos, it'll go right to me. And I will try to answer you as soon as I can. And if it seems like a question that can go general, I will also do it here on the Ask Me Anythings. Hello, Wolf Powers. Welcome back. Hello, Natasha. Hello, I Write. I've got one of your questions today. It's one of the biggies. So let's just get right into that. Here's the deal, everybody. I am going to take your live questions, but first, I've got 3 questions that are kind of prepared, and I've got a lot of material that hello, N, that I want to get through. So I'm going to hold your questions till after I have done those. Hello, Anthony Zapata. Welcome. I don't think I've seen you before. Okay, here's the deal, folks. The first question that we're going to deal with is, how do I make a living at writing or from writing? And here's the thing about this. Hello, Rachel Waring. Sorry, I'm going to interrupt to say hello to people because they're kind enough to come on live, so let's just say that. So cool. I am really glad. I love when some little thing that I've learned, look, I've been doing this for a long time. I had 25 years nonstop writing jobs and lots of different experiences. So I've learned a lot of just extras or your minor characters. And, you know, the answer is, by the way, if they speak, try and name them. If they're doing something specific, try and name them. Otherwise, they're just types. You don't name them. But in general, if you can name them, it helps. It helps to make them a character in your mind. It really helps the actors in their career. Anyway, so let's get to this one about how do I make my living from writing. This is a big question. Everybody asks this. So many people spend so much time asking, how am I going to make a living? How can I get my writing to support me? Most artists do not make a living from art. And I'm really sorry to say that, but it's really important that I be truthful about this. The odds are you don't make your full-time living just doing writing. Even if you do, for instance, if you become a professional screenwriter, it's not going to be what you think. You're not going to actually be doing your writing and then giving it to someone and they give you a pile of money and you don't have to worry about anything else. You hear about, Aaron Sorkin, somebody like that who can do whatever they want and people pay them a fortune and that's all cool and that's lovely. And everyone gets this mythology in their mind that that's what being a professional writer is. I'm going to think of something, I'm going to write it, they're going to give me a whole lot of money, I'm going to live on that. That's the job. That's not actually the job. There are 23,000 people in the Writers Guild, okay? That includes full-time members and part-time members, or members who haven't made it to full-time yet. 23,000. How many of those have you heard of as that name above the title kind of a writer? Not a lot. That's because most people are writing jobs, they're writing on staffs, they're struggling job to job, and when you're doing a job, you are almost always working with someone else's property, someone else's story, someone else's script, someone else's adaptation. So the truth is, you are making a living from writing, but you're not writing your stuff. And in fact, your professional writing becomes your day job. It's really, really weird, but it is a fact. Most artists do not make a living from art. Okay, most novelists are teaching at some college. If you wouldn't even think about this if it wasn't screenwriter. You wouldn't be saying, "Oh, I'm going to be a sculptor and I'm going to, have a full-time studio and all that." That just doesn't happen. If you were a poet or a painter or write operas or play the flute, you assume that you are not going to be making your living full-time doing that thing. So the most important thing that I can tell you is I have reassuring things you can do to deal with this truth. But it's really useful to not be wasting your time chasing an ideal and feeling like a failure because you're not doing a thing that almost nobody does. The media tells the story of those people who do, because that's a great story and because that's the celebrities. But we are not celebrities. Okay, we are people with jobs. That is the truth. So let me talk to you about how this works. The first thing is success, which is making money in our particular world, is a matter of luck. Seriously, the people who you hear about who are successful, who are making a living at writing, they are people who are really good and have worked really hard and then got lucky. And I can tell you this as one of those people. First of all, for a long time, I wasn't lucky. I mean, let's remember, I was an office temp and scrambling, aspiring writer for 12 years after my 6 years of college, because I dropped out of college for a while. So we're talking about 18 years. 18 years, because I knew when I graduated high school that all I wanted to do was be a writer. 18 years until I actually started to make a living at that. Okay, in that time, I had to learn a lot about this game. And one thing is, honestly, success is a matter of luck. I worked at a summer camp, a creative arts summer camp with a guy. He and I became friends. 18 years later, he was running a TV show and hired me for it. That's how I got to work in TV. It wasn't that, I wrote a script that was so great that people said, "Oh, let him write for a show." I knew somebody who I met 18 years ago, okay? When I finally got a script sold and could stop working my temp jobs, it was because an indie producer had given up on her dreams of being an indie producer and was working in a big company. She had given up her own projects and started working at a big company, and that big company happened to put her in contact with a star. And she thought, "I'm not supposed to do this," but she showed my script to that star and the star liked it. And so once again, yes, that is chance. If that producer hadn't happened to get that job and take that risk, I would still be an office temp. Okay, her name was May Wothrich, by the way. She now does audiobooks, directs audiobooks. She's amazing. Anyway, the point, and I will tell these stories in other videos at other times, but the point about this is that success is a matter of being very, very, very good and very, very hardworking and then getting lucky. So I have some steps you can take to help you with that. First of all, you have to prepare for luck, and you have to make yourself available to luck. Those are the two things that you can do to deal with the luck problem, okay? Because it's a problem. It is a problem for anyone in the arts. So let's talk about how you prepare. The first way that you prepare for luck is that you get really, really good. You get like shockingly, incredibly good. And unrecognized. It's really frustrating, but you have to do that part. Then you have to learn the job, which is really hard because you're not getting to do the job. But at least now there's a ton of podcasts and interviews with writers and interviews with producers. And if you get on the internet and you Google how do you become a screenwriter? What does a screenwriter do all day? Interviews with screenwriters, interviews with TV writers. You're going to get a lot of crap, but you'll also get some good stuff. On Story, the podcast from the Austin Film Festival, really good. Backstory, the podcast from Q&A, the podcast from Backstory Magazine. These are all extremely good resources. So the main thing is you learn as much as you can about the jobs that when you get in, because unfortunately they do not want you to come in and learn on the job. So the other thing you need to do is you need to make yourself available to luck, which means you need to, oh, wait, I'm sorry. I have to interrupt this. N is also right. Film Courage, YouTube channel here, which brought a lot of you to me. That is a great resource for people telling how they got their jobs and what their job is. Film Courage, really good. Okay, so once you have made yourself really, really good and learned as much as you can about the job, you have to be able to survive. In my case, you had to be able to survive 18 years full-time killing myself to be a writer before anybody paid me enough to actually do it for more than a few weeks at a time. I had little indie jobs here and there. I'd get enough to survive for 4 weeks while I wrote a script kind of thing. I was very, very lucky about that. Well, lucky, and I worked very, very hard and was very, very good. But the main thing is you have to be available, which means you have to be alive. You have to be workable. You have to be able to say, I am here. I can survive this month when I struggle to write this script that somebody's going to give me a little bit of money for. You have to be able to make a sustainable life that will hold you even if you don't make a living at writing. That is very important. The other thing you have to do is you have to create a process that works for your life. It doesn't matter if you have the greatest creative process in the world, if it doesn't fit into your reality, whatever that is, and everyone's is different, and everyone's personality is different, and everyone's art is different. So there's no one process that works for everyone. What is important is that you spend some time figuring out what actually works for you. I did a video that is very helpful about this called Create a Ritual. So I would really, really suggest you check that out because I talk a lot about this. Hang on. Jim, thank you. Yes, opportunity, hard work and opportunity. That's sort of the same thing I'm saying, just in a different thing. And it doesn't matter who you're quoting. You're quoting you. Okay, and hello, Janae. Javier, I will explain that in a little while. Okay, so having got yourself a process, which means like if you are the sort of person who works in the morning, maybe you have to get up before work. Maybe you have to, maybe you are the sort of person who can sit in a coffee shop and write. Maybe you're the sort of person who has to sit with music playing. Maybe you're the sort of person, whatever you are, learn who you are and how you work well. That Create a Ritual video will help. Okay, now, then you have to create stuff. You have to keep creating stuff. In those 18 years, while I was not getting paid, I wrote like 8 to 10 scripts. I made a whole bunch of indie films on video and other ways. I worked in theater. I did all sorts of stuff. You have to make stuff. You don't get to start making stuff when you make money. You have to wait. You have to constantly be creating whether or not you are getting paid. And that reminds me of one of my favorite quotes. I couldn't wait for success, so I went ahead without it. That is so important. Just keep creating as best you can. Do what you can with what you've got, being who you are. Just do your thing. That is the most important thing to getting lucky. If you're not writing, if you're not saying, how can I write my next script a little better or a little more interesting to me, then you'll never get lucky. And the other thing is, you have to put it out there. You have to show it to everyone in the world. Anyone who will remotely read it And I don't mean just, people above you who have the power to write checks. Anybody. You never know who they'll know or what they'll do. And it doesn't matter, because the whole point of creating something is to have people see it, read it, like it. That's the only reason you are doing this. The money is to support that. So do that. Do that as best you can all the time. That is how you make your art and get lucky or not, because then you'll still be making the art. And that was actually the whole point, wasn't it? If you can find a way to cram a little bit of work in every day, 15 minutes, doesn't matter, as long as it's a little bit, as often as you can, that will become your strength. That will make your luck. As lucky as you're going to get, and sometimes you are and sometimes you're not. But what really matters is that you're doing the thing and that you are showing it to people, putting it out on the blacklist or into festivals or whatever you could do. Start your own website and publicize it. Whatever is good for you to get your work out there. Okay, that is number one. Yes, well, we all have to do that. Let me explain about this part-time, full-time thing. First of all, you should know, in the Hollywood entertainment industry, in the main professional writing game, there is an indie world that sometimes pays a little. But as far as what you're thinking of as professional writing, you need to become a member of the Writers Guild of America. It is a union. It is a good thing, but it is hard to get into. You have to have written something that interests someone in the business enough for them to say, we are going to pay you our rates to do this. And when you've gotten a certain, go to the Writers Guild, WGA.org. Let me see if I have that here. I don't have it off. Oh, but let me just show this. Okay. This is a good source of information. This is a good source of information. This is a good source of information. And then, WGA.org. Forget the copyright part. You go there, they tell you how to get in. And what you have to do is you have to be hired by people who are professional producers, and they will pay the professional rate plus the professional benefits and pension and all that stuff that has to be done. So the deal is, some people get paid by those companies, but not enough to count towards full-time registration as a Writers Guild member. Full-time membership. Full member is somebody who's done 24 points, I believe it is. Sometimes you get 10 points. You have to do 24 points within 3 years, I believe. Go to the WGA.org. They explain it. The main thing is there's about 10,000 people who have done that, who are full members of the union. There's about 13,000 who are working towards that. They're professional, but they haven't quite hit that level. So, all right. Hello, Larry. Okay, that's okay. We will forgive you. You are, to tell you the truth, we wouldn't have noticed, but it's all right. Let us get, oh, wait, this is another good resource. Okay, so let's get to our next question. And this is from I Write. And I Write said, how do you keep up the momentum of energy that you had when you first came up with the story idea? It's talking about, especially when you're writing a feature-length script or something like that, it's going to take possibly months, possibly longer to write a script. How do you keep up the momentum? How do you come and sit down and feel great and excited and into what you're doing? And the answer is you don't. It is hard to be a full-time writer. And by full-time, I don't mean full-time all day, every day. I mean to do it a lot, to do it as part of an ongoing part of your life, and to do it as a process that you are continually working on, because that's what any artist does. You're not going to feel all happy and excited all the time. And so that is when we get to process and craft. because enthusiasm and excitement and optimism, they come and go. They are gonna come and go. There's nothing you can do about that. All right, so that's okay. The important thing is to know your process and your craft, which you can do without enthusiasm. It's okay. It actually becomes the way you get to the enthusiasm is through the process. Let me talk to you about a couple of videos I have that might be helpful. One is one that's called Use What You Have, which means you don't have to constantly be thrilled and excited to turn the page. You're looking at it like, well, what have I got? Oh, I've got this thing. Oh, this needs a little work. I'm going to work on that piece. And that really, really helps. The other thing is to do this, a process of questions. It really, really helps to have a workable process. And in that video, a process of questions, I list a whole bunch of questions you can ask so that you can say, when I don't feel like it, I can ask this question and get myself going. So that is very, very important. Also, create a ritual. This is a video that talks about building a process by which you can write even when you don't feel like it. Okay. Jin loves my honesty, and iWrite remembers this question. Okay, good. So let's talk about some of the things you can do to get yourself through this process when you don't feel like it. All right. The first thing is, oh, by the way, the reason that we have craft, the reason that we have forms and mechanical external things that you can do is for when you don't know what to do, when you don't like what you're doing. And I mean by that both, I don't like my work, or often you'll be working on a job. And this is true, and you won't like it, but it's paying you. So if you're lucky enough to be a professional writer, you have to do stuff you don't like, you don't think is good, you wish you didn't have to do, but it's the one that they paid. So, and then often you just don't want to do it. You don't feel like it. You feel like you can't do it. You don't know how to do it. You just feel out of it. That's when you want process and craft. So let's talk about what those are. The first thing is your format and the organization. They are a process. In other words, if you could, like, I couldn't really write reliably until I had a reliable set of documents that I always knew I was going to open the same form of document. It was always going to open my notes. I was always going to open my outline, and I was going to think in those terms. And that allowed me to work when I didn't feel like it. I have, let's see, do I have, I don't have right here. There's one of my videos is called How to Organize. Let me just type this up here. That didn't work. There we go. Okay, so get ready. Here we go. This is the title of one of my videos, which I didn't happen to grab the thumbnail for. So, how to organize a project. Please watch that because it explains in pretty simple terms a bunch of documents that you can settle for yourself that you always use, no matter what the project is. I've done it for novels. I've done it for audio projects. I've done it for plays. It doesn't matter. The basic idea is to have a set ritual by which you work. This is just one that I'm offering. It's helpful, I think. Doesn't work for you, don't do it. But how to organize a project. I believe that's the title. Anyway, that is process. That's a part of the process. Just saying, I'm going to write it, thinking in scenes. I'm going to write an outline, which is a list of scenes. That will help. Also, outline. If you are not sure about this, I've got a video called Why Outline and a video called How to Outline. And the reason that I suggest outlining is this is a really simple trick. Suppose you're writing and you're kind of not feeling the scene you're in. If you have an outline and so you've got a list of all sorts of scenes that all need work, you can just skip to a different scene. You don't have to go in order when you have an outline. That is so helpful. You have no idea how many times it has saved me to not feel if I get stuck someplace, if I get to one scene that I just hate or I can't figure out, just move to another scene for today. If it turns out that you can figure out every single scene in your outline except that one that you just can't figure out, A, maybe you don't need it, and B, at least you'll have everything else. And if you really had to, write the entire script except that scene and show it to trusted people and say, what's wrong there? And you'll get some help. But don't get stuck because you're going in order. That's just dreadful. So, therefore, I just urge you to outline. And I beg you, look at those videos I did because I really, outlining is not what you think. It's just a place to work. It's just a way to think in scenes. Okay, so the other thing is, this is going to be really important about your momentum, about everything else. There's two quotes. One is from, I believe, the Catholic Church. The other is from various anonymous groups. Act as if you had faith and you will be given faith, or fake it till you make it. And that is really, really important for being a creative person. You can't always feel confident. Confidence is helpful, and the more you do and the more organization and process you have, the more confident you will feel. The more you practice, the more you will feel. But a lot of times you don't. And the only reason that I'm really fluent at writing, the reason that I can sit here and write something while people are looking over my shoulder, is because I have faith that it's going to work out because I've done it enough times and it has worked out. That very often when I will sit down to write, I will think, I have no idea how I'm going to do this. But I've done it enough that I do not fear that feeling. I just know that if I take the steps, I will get the thing. And that is really important. Act as if you had faith. Do the things you would do if you believed, and you will be given faith. Fake it until you make it. I had a friend who's a professional writer. He had won a Golden Globe Award. He had been a showrunner. He was working on scripts, big studio scripts. And he got to one where he was adapting a book and he wasn't really getting along with the director. And he just got stuck and he didn't know how to do it. And he told me this story later. He said that I just sort of casually, we were talking about this. And I said, well, why don't you do the things you did on the ones that worked? And see what happens. Like, even if you don't believe in it, just do the thing you know how to do and see what comes out, because there will be something there. And that is actually a really, really useful thing. The other thing is, focus on what's good. Use what you have. Don't spend your time thinking about how you're going to fail, or think about, if you just get one cool idea for a scene, if you just get one character who you kind of like, anything that you can, just say, okay, this makes it worth doing the rest of this stuff I don't believe in, because maybe I can pull towards that. Maybe I can find, and then pretty soon you have 2, and then you have 3. And honestly, the more you practice this process, the more you have faith that you'll just have a little tiny something that you like, but it will work out because you'll build around that, and then pretty soon you will have more things you like. You need experience to do that. You have to keep doing the work even when you don't like it. The other thing is get into the moment. Just do the one line that you're working on, the one character, the one scene. Another reason that outlining helps, because you don't have to think about everything. You just work one scene at a time. You don't even have to work in order. So think about what's good, okay? Make some kind of mental list, or even just spend some time looking at the stuff you've done that's good. It helps. It will really help. Okay, So before I go on to the next one, I'm going to quickly read through the chat, which has been very, very busy. I'm a full-time writer. I live for my work. That's what it's same. I got to tell you, same. I mean, I have to tell you, yeah, if you get physical, that's it. Sustainable life. Don't get overtired. Don't get over hungry. Don't be under, if you've got terrible financial pressure, stop, change the situation, even if it means not writing for a while, even if it means you have to change things in your life so that you can give yourself a little breathing room. Get a roommate or move to a different place which is cheaper. Or I don't want to pretend that I know your situation, but I do know that if you're thinking, I can't write because I'm feeling all this fear about my future, sometimes it's better to write less, work on that, sort that out, and then, oh dear. Sorry about that, folks. Let me see if I can get this back on. Okay. Sometimes my battery goes. Is it on? No, it's dead. Okay, we're gonna just do this. I apologize. Let's fix this up here. Okay, bad camera, but better a bad camera than no camera, than not doing the show. So let's do the show. So yeah, try to make a sustainable life, whatever that is, so that you can keep doing your work. And Wolf says, organization is the key to just about everything to do with writing. I am with you on that. N says, my answer for rewriting is, I don't think it's my job to make it good. I just make it better. Oh man, that's great. That is great. Yeah, cool. Willing to try anything. That's actually part of my next section. Written some short films, but I don't feel confident writing. Oh, look, I'm back. Characters. I think they are just me. Jose, let's talk about that in a minute. Yeah, that's absolutely. Oh, and N is full of great advice here. Yes, that's right. I have to tell you, all my characters are me. All my characters are me in that world, in that person, in that life, in that moment. I think we are always, that's kind of what writing is. It's this form of empathy where you are both you and the imagined you. And so that can be a good character. Don't fear that. Let me fix this a little. All right. Yeah. Gremlins. Okay, cool. So let me do this last section. No, it's almost last section. Because this kind of relates to what you guys are all talking about here, which is, what if I can only write the way I write? I get this all the time. I cannot tell you how often I will run into a student whose problem is they'll say, like, they'll panic if you suggest trying a different way. Often this is people who have started writing out of it. We all start as an audience, right? We all start as a passion. It's just like, oh, I love books. I love movies. I love TV shows. I want to do that. And then you kind of work it out for yourself, alone, DIY. You find your way, and it feels magical because you are doing the thing. That's great. But at every artist, at some point, gets to where that doesn't work. Every artist has to, at some point, figure out their craft and process, because when you're going from whatever it is that you do well, you are going to run into challenges that are going to make it hard, especially because once you start to show it to people, or you learn about how the business goes, or your life doesn't support your particular way of writing, somehow or other, I can only write the way I write leads to I can't write at all because something is in the way. Very often it's that the way you write, you might be really strong at imagining the characters, but you haven't really learned about how to outline, and so the plot is kind of confusing. And then you'll show it to people and they'll go, I really like this, but I didn't follow it. Now you have to write a different way. And that is not just changing your writing, which is hard enough, but because you found the writing emotionally, personally, as your salvation and connection, it's like your very being is threatened. Your very personality, your entire, it's an existential crisis when you have to change how you write. This is why we do this. Now, I know it will feel bad. It will feel scary. So the first thing I would say is please go back and watch the last section I just did again, because of all those steps about, actually both sections. I sort of organized this AMAA in order to sort of get all of this information in one place, because they're really all the same problem, which is you think it's supposed to be a certain way. And then you crash into the fact, and it is a fact, that it's not that way. You are probably not going to be making a fortune at your writing whatever you want, and you're not going to be able to write the way you like all the time. And even the way you like to write doesn't completely cover it. Just doesn't. Nobody ever has that. Okay, I've never heard of an artist who had the just, oh yeah, I wake up, I do it, it's easy, I'm done. P.G. Woodhouse, kinda. But other than him, no. So the first thing I would say is when you are trying to change, try it. You know, I mean, like, what have you got to lose? Try and de-escalate the existential crisis and just say, I'm just going to try this. You're not being required to keep it up if you don't like it. You can find your version of it. But try to learn small steps, a little bit. And by the way, I have a video on that. Small steps. Really, really helpful to just do things a little bit at a time. And that also means practicing. You know, if you love swimming and you wanted to become a better swimmer and you went as far as you could with your how it feels good swimming, at some point you get a swimming trainer and they're going to say, you know, you should breathe on every stroke or something. Well, that just feels wrong to you. But if you practice it, and by the way, practice means do it badly. That's what practicing is. Practicing is doing a thing that doesn't feel right and that you're not good at and that you're going to do badly, and you do that enough times to where you can own it and make it work for you. That's what practice is. And it's really important to practice when you're trying to learn a new part of the art. The other thing you should do is do it without feeling, or even do it feeling bad. If you're only doing it a little bit, small steps, you know, how terrible would it be to just try writing a different way for 10 minutes every day? 10 minutes a day over a couple of months, you'll start to feel less bad, if only because you'll just get used to it. You know, it's like any form of exercise or change. It takes a while to get used to it, but try it, practice it, do it, act as if you had faith, and you will be given faith. Fake it till you make it. Then, the other thing is, don't make it either or. Do it your way and the other way. It's not like your way is evil, it's just insufficient. It's just not everything. So, keep your way, but also learn the other way. That way, you've got super skills, which is, remember, how you make yourself better and how you make yourself lucky is when you can do it either way, depending on what you need to do. That is my advice. And the main thing about this is all of these questions come down to this. How do I get past this, whatever it is, unsolvable writing problem? How do I make a living at my writing? How do I write when I don't feel like it? And the answer is, you don't. The thing that's holding you up when you have an unsolvable writing problem is one part of that problem is you are clinging to something that you just got to forget, let go of. Don't worry about making the money. Worry about getting good. Don't worry about feeling like you like your work. Just do it anyway. the unsolvable writing problem almost always is something that you want that is clashing with reality, and you have to just recognize that and try and work it out. It'll always be different for everybody, but it really, really is liberating when you ask that question. Is there a part of this problem that I could let go of? And maybe it would make it better. And that always feels, you don't hang on to those things because they don't matter. They hang on because you think you need them, but you don't always need them. And even if you always need them, if they're not going to happen, it's probably better to take a look at that and see if there's a way that you can get that thing without that way. That is so I kind of think this whole story of today's questions is kind of one story. And that's why I wanted to do these all at once. Okay, I'm going to look at the chat and see what's going on. Wow, writing all day. That's really cool. But I will, as somebody who dropped out of college in order to have all day free to write and then couldn't write, it doesn't always save you. Thinking a lot of people, when they get paid, they find they can't write because the pressure of saying, oh my God, I accepted an advance on this writing and now I can't, what if I do it badly, blah, blah, blah. I promise you, all the things you think are going to solve all your writing problems, they're not. The only thing that solves all your writing problems is craft and process. Let me see if I can find that one again. This is what solves all your writing problems, and this. Focus on the good part. You've got something going. You wouldn't be here if you didn't have something going on that was pretty good, that made you feel good, that you enjoyed doing, and that probably some people will get a kick out of. No one knows. Everybody's different. Everything is a matter of chance. But if you keep doing it and showing it to people, the odds are you'll find that thing that you like doing, and some people will like it. Okay. If your outline is non-existent, work on it. Ask questions. Play around. Have some fun. Okay. N. I don't know what I meant. So I don't know what that's talking about. And Kirby Light is here. And congratulations. Natasha is really roaring along. Good for you. Congratulations. That is excellent. Okay. Writerly Torah Scroll. Hi, Jeff. I contend that even if nothing I scribble is ever bought, I will still have a better life by doing it than not doing it. This is great. Jeff's Writerly Torah Scroll is exactly the answer. That is truth. Writing style. Not sure the relevance. Not sure what that means. Writing style is good. I don't know what I was talking about that you asked that question about. So listen, we got about 10 minutes left. If anyone has a question, please feel free to ask it. Otherwise, I'm just going to reiterate a bunch of stuff that I've iterated because this is important. This is my best basic salvation Q&A that I've ever done. The stuff that I've got here is really, really important. So, any questions? Anybody? Okay. Yeah. All right. Cool enough. Never mind. I got it. Sometimes the moment passes. So, like I said, if you can, please try to check out Film Courage and Backstory and The Screenwriting Life. My video, How to Organize a Project, and the On Story podcast from the Austin Film Festival. Those are all really good places to hear about all the different ways that people have tried to deal with the same problems that you're dealing with. And it just helps sometimes to find out how, first of all, how many different problems and ways people solve problems there are. And also, you just never know. You might just get something that clicks. But the main thing is look at your own reality, your situation, what you do well, what helps you write. Whatever that is, as long as it's not like, meth, do it. If it is something that hurts your body or mental health, don't do it. Do another thing instead. Really seriously, it sometimes feels like, oh, I'm just going to get sloshed and drink and then it'll free me from my fears. That is not a good way to create. It really doesn't work. What does work is the more you set up a process, a ritual, a craft for yourself, the more all of your problems will fade away. They really, really do. Yes, absolutely. Keep the faith. But if the faith is not there, keep doing the stuff that the faith suggests. Keep working in scenes, think in scenes, write outlines. The more that you do that, the more that you ask questions. Let's just hit some of the great ones. Ask questions. Outline. Okay, these will really, really help. Work in small steps. Use what you have. Think in scenes. Really, I gotta say, the best thing you can do if you're really, really stuck, aside from watch this over again and take those things I put up as the big cards, it's really the best I got. It's the best advice I have. But the other stuff is my whole channel's the lessons, screenwriting essentials and screenwriting tools and skills and process, being a writer. Those 3 sections of my channel, it's the best advice I've got. Usually it will help you build your craft and your process. Okay, yes, keep going. And absolutely true. There's no question about that. Thank you. Thank you, Javier. All right, we're coming up on, yes, put your visor down. Take the, well, I'm not going to get into what color pill you should take. That's become politicized. Let's just say, all of you, I honestly, the best thing I can tell you to do is go write something. So I'm going to be closing down now, but I'm going to say, go write something.